Hey, did you guys hear about what happened when Rand Paul showed up as a guest on The View? Things got real heated, and the tension in the room was through the roof. By the way, if you're not familiar with Rand Paul, he's a US senator who's been super vocal about pushing back against the woke agenda. So yeah, it's no surprise he didn't exactly see eye to eye with the hosts of The View, especially Whoopi Goldberg. Here's how it all started. Rand Paul came on the show to talk about his new book, The Case Against Socialism. But let me tell you, it didn't take long for the whole thing to go sideways. The hosts, led by Whoopi, weren't holding back. They hit him with tough questions about everything from foreign policy to socialism, and from the get-go, it was obvious. They weren't looking for a friendly chat. They wanted to challenge him. But Rand Paul, oh, he wasn't backing down. He clapped back with some serious fire, and let me tell you, the audience did not see this coming. You've got to check this out.
Actually, Turkey doesn't want Iran to take over everything. Israel doesn't want Iran to take over everything. And in fact, Israel actually stands up for themselves all the time.
They may end up being in a bigger
Let
war
me finish. Don't interrupt.
Sunny Hostin didn't hold back for a second. She jumped right in, bringing up Venezuela and claiming what happened there had nothing to do with socialism.
We have massive taxes here, but we don't get any free stuff. We don't have free health care. Well, our public education system is a problem.
But Rand Paul wasn't having any of it. He calmly fired back, saying Venezuela's collapse was all because of socialist policies.
The case against socialism, Bernie Sanders is no longer alone on the debate stage. It seems like we're hearing more and more about socialism. In fact, 43% of Americans think it's a good thing. You are on the complete other end of that. Tell us about this book.
Well, one of the things we learned in writing the book is a lot of people say, well, we're not for Stalin, we're not for Hitler, we're for Scandinavia. So as we were researching the book, we actually found that Bernie Sanders' form of socialism actually is unpopular, and he would never get elected to anything in Denmark. In fact, the Prime Minister of Denmark, when he heard Bernie was going around saying they were socialists, says, no, we're not socialists. We have private property, a stock exchange, we have low corporate income taxes, we don't have a minimum wage. And the big difference, and this is where the big lie comes from, Bernie says we're going to give you all this free stuff, but we're only going to tax the rich people. In Scandinavia, they tax the working class, 25% sales tax, and an income tax starting at $60,000 is 60%. So really the difference between their country and our country is they do have more free stuff in Scandinavia, but they pay for it with massive taxes on the working class and the middle class.
And then Rand Paul dropped the mic. If you vote for socialism, you'll get socialism. The crowd went wild, clapping and cheering, a reaction nobody saw coming. And Whoopi, she wasn't happy. That side eye she gave the audience, absolutely priceless.
I live in Miami. There's tens of thousands of Venezuelan exiles living there. You talk a lot about Venezuela in your new book. I get a lot of political ads from the Republican Party. Donald Trump has tweeted this. Many have tweeted this. If you vote for Democrats, they will turn the United States into Venezuela. Do you think that's a fair statement to make?
Well, if you vote for a socialist, you might get socialism.
Come on, don't do that. Maduro is not a socialist. He's a corrupt, murderous thug who is starving his people.
That's not true.
That's not true? Maduro's not a thug and a murderer who's starving his people.
Let's have a conversation here. Chavez was a socialist, and socialism was the economic system of Venezuela.
And they stole. It's a kleptocracy. It's not socialism.
But here's the question is, they voted for socialism. They voted for, let me finish.
No, I can't let you finish. If you're going to say Maduro's not a murderous thug, I'm not going to let you finish. That's a damn lie. And I've got a bunch of neighbors and friends who know this. Don't do this to me. Don't mansplain. I'm a 47-year-old girl.
Thanks to Senator Rand Paul. His new book is called The Case Against Socialism, and we'll be right back.
But Rand Paul wasn't done yet. Things really hit a boiling point when he brought up the troop withdrawal from Syria. He started breaking down the tough decisions and the reasons behind pulling out, but Whoopi cut him off, asking, yeah, but is that really the right way to do it? Rand didn't even flinch. He shot back. So what? Are we supposed to stay in wars forever? Keep sending American kids into harm's way without a clear plan? No, Whoopi, that's not leadership. That's recklessness.
One of the things I've always supported about President Trump is actually one of the things I liked about President Obama, that we said we were overextended, that the Iraq war was a mistake. I think it's one of the reasons President Obama beat Hillary Clinton, because Hillary Clinton had supported the Iraq war. I still think the Iraq war, regime change in the Middle East, and these wars are senseless. So does President Trump. He doesn't want to get us involved in another Iraq war in Syria. If anything, Syria is more complicated. The other is a practical concern. You have 50 soldiers. They're talking about moving 50 soldiers. Who goes to war with 50 soldiers? You have 50 soldiers and tens of thousands of Turkish troops amassing. The Turks are also allies. The Free Syrian Army were our allies for 7 years. They're allied with the Turks. The Kurds have been our allies. The Kurds, in all likelihood, are now going to be allies of Assad to try to carve out a place in Syria for themselves. It's a really complicated question. I guess from my perspective, I say, any of these people out here, their kids have to go to war. War's not a chess game. People lose their limbs and people die, and I think it's the least we owe to the kids that we're going to send into this war. Why are we going to war and who are we fighting?
But before Rand could finish, Whoopi cut him off, snapping, "So you're just running away? What about our allies?" Rand, staying cool as ever, fired back, "Our allies? You mean Turkey? The same Turkey causing chaos in the region? Come on, let's not act like this is some black and white issue." The exchange got so heated, you could feel the tension through the screen. Whoopi, clearly done with it, cut him off mid-sentence and shouted, "Let's go to break." The crowd, dead silent.
But isn't there...
So,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. So, if you have allies and they are working with you and fighting with you, and 24 hours somebody wakes up and says, "No, we're out."
Right.
Is that the right way to do this?
I think the way we look at war is we don't look at
No. Is that the right way to do it?
Let me answer the question.
Okay.
When we decide whether or not we're sending our young people into harm's way, we should obey the Constitution, which says we should declare war and put them in a war theater. But let me finish.
Okay.
And here's the thing about it, is if you ask these people, Lindsey Graham and the Cheney war and all these warmongers that want to stay at war forever, who are we going to declare war on? They don't know who. We're going to declare war on Turkey, our ally,
Should we
the
ever
Free Syrian
walk
Army, our
out
ally?
in the middle? It's like walking out.
We should never be there in the first place.
That's not the question, though.
Sonny Hostin switched gears to domestic policy, calling out Rand Paul for supporting tax cuts she said only help the rich. But Rand was ready. The top 1% pay 40% of the income taxes in this country, and the bottom 50%, they pay nothing. That's not oppression, that's fairness. Sonny, clearly rattled, fired back, "Yeah, but what about free healthcare and education?" Rand didn't miss a beat. Free? Nothing is free. In places like Denmark, where Bernie Sanders gets his ideas, the working class shells out 25% in sales tax and 60% in income tax. If that's your idea of free, I'd hate to see what expensive looks like.
We have massive taxes here, but we don't get any free stuff. We don't have free health care. Well, our public education system is a problem. It seems like the only people that get free stuff are the very, very wealthy.
We have a different form of taxation in our country. Ours is much more progressive. So we've taken the poor off of the rolls. They don't pay income tax anymore. Most people below $50,000 don't pay any income tax. The top 1% in our country pay 40%.
Our audience says that's not true.
Well, the IRS statistics say that the top 1% in our country pay 40% of the income tax, and that those making less than $50,000...
Donald Trump doesn't pay any income tax.
The moment that blew up the internet was when Whoopi claimed, "I'm not left or right, I'm just American." Rand Paul, not buying it for a second, shot back, "Well, Whoopi, if you're just American, maybe you should try listening to ideas that don't fit your narrative. That's what real Americans do." The crowd, they went nuts, clapping and cheering. Whoopi, she was completely speechless.
We're
For
in
so many
there.
years, for so many years, the left agreed with me.
I am
that
neither
these
left nor right. I'm just American. I want to
know.
know, should we be taking, should we be walking out on people with this time?
But here's the thing is, left and right have agreed in the past that regime change doesn't work. When we got rid of Hussein, we got chaos and more terrorism. When we got rid of Gaddafi, chaos and more terrorism.
But Senator,
It's
we're
incredibly
here now, though.
expensive as well.
But we're here.
We're not really here. We got 50 people. We're not
here.
doing
Yeah,
anything.
but frankly,
50 people
hold on,
is very symbolic,
Hold on.
and that is why
Yeah,
it
and you
kept
tell their parents
Turkey
that.
from invading.
You tell their parents
Isn't that true?
You tell the parents of those 50 kids how great the symbolism was when a suicide bomber blows up all 50
But
kids.
didn't it
You
keep
tell them
Turkey
why-
from
no,
invading?
No,
And
I'm not.
pulling them
No.
gave
You tell
Turkey
their
the
parents.
green light.
You tell their
Isn't
parents
that
why
true?
they're there.
But
You
isn't
tell-
that true?
You tell their parents why they're
Isn't
there.
it true that Turkey
You
did
tell
not
them-
How do you
invade
feel
because
about
we
it?
have
How do you feel about the video that we're
actually-
seeing of the
I
Kurds
find-
getting slaughtered?
I find the position of pulling out of these wars, that's a popular one, and I am there. There's a difference in having a strategy and leaving the Kurds there to die, which is where they are now. They are left there to die, and that is now, here's what I'd argue,
That's simply
now
wrong.
it's the
That's simply
GOP's
wrong.
problem.
That's simply wrong and an
ISIS fighters,
accusation.
as being reported, thousands are going to escape from these prisons because the Kurds can't protect
Well, no, that
themselves.
is
Up
that
to
is
70,000
that's the
according to a
people-
NATO
That's
official.
what's the people who don't like the
Is that a
policy?
safer world with
That's the
ISIS
people-
running around?
That's the people who want to stay forever. These are the same people.
I don't want to stay forever,
Let me
but isn't
finish
there a
answering the
strategy?
question, okay? I let you talk. You let me talk. These are the same people that would still have us in Vietnam. These are the same people who always say, stay at war, stay at war, stay at war. It has not helped us. We've been in Afghanistan for 19 years. The same people complaining about this. The Cheneys, Lindsey Graham, you know what they say about Afghanistan? It would be precipitous to leave. We've been there 19 years. There's no mission, and I'm not sending one more kid.
But there's more questions.
How about the idea of breaking our word as Americans, of breaking our words to our allies, of having people who've risked their lives, who've been there for years, and what message does that send internationally to other allies if we abandon them?
I think the only duty we owe and the only oath I take is to the Constitution. I didn't promise to take the country to war. I promised not to take the country to war. So did President Trump, by the way.
But the Constitution says protecting you from enemies, foreign and domestic.
Yeah.
And there's many of us who feel that this puts us in greater danger because of what it means vis-a-vis ISIS. I mean, we're not alone on this planet.
And anybody who tries to make the argument that someone in Syria is a danger to our country is really not paying attention.
Oh, I think Assad is in Syria and is a hell of a danger to our country and our world.
Well, actually, if you look at the war is very complicated. So you had Assad on one side. On the other side, you had Sunni extremists, Al-Qaeda and al-Nusra. These are the people that have been allied with the Saudi version of Islam that has been promoting Islamism and Islamist strategy around the world and jihadism. That was the side of the war we were fighting. So if that side of the war actually won, I think we actually might be in more danger. I don't like Assad, but the other people on the other side are Sunni extremists that I don't like either.
How close is too close for Iran to be near Israel? Because this now creates a huge vacuum where Iran wants to take over Damascus, which is what they're now going to be capable of doing, and they're going to be that much closer to Israel, which is in fact one of our closest allies. Does that concern you at all?
I think the whole situation is so confusing that none of us are really getting this right. Actually, Turkey doesn't want Iran to take over everything. Israel doesn't want Iran to take over everything. And in fact, Israel actually stands up for themselves all the time.
They may end up being in a bigger war.
Let me finish. Don't interrupt. So Iran gets up against the border.
By the time the segment wrapped up, Whoopi and the rest of the hosts looked totally rattled. Meanwhile, Rand Paul walked off like it was just another day, leaving behind a trail of viral moments and a panel that didn't know what hit them. This wasn't your average political debate. It was a clinic on staying cool under pressure and sticking to your guns. Whether you love him or hate him, one thing's for sure, Rand Paul came ready to play.
And 24 hours, somebody wakes up and says, "Oh, we're out." Right. Is that the right way to do this?
I think the way we look at wars, we don't look at
No. Is that the right way to do it?
Let me answer the question.
Okay.
And he walked out like a winner. So what do you guys think about Rand Paul's points? Was he out of line or did he nail it? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear what you think.